Section 1. What is justice? Justice as compromise versus justice as moral beauty. Why Plato still matters today. What you will learn in this section. Welcome to this course. I'm your guide for this journey into justice, virtue, and the soul. This section lays the foundation of the liberal arts tradition. Through myth, poetry, and Plato's timeless question, what is justice? In this section, you will explore why Western civilization began not with laws, but with stories. How myths shaped early ideas of virtue, courage, and justice. Why Plato saw justice not as compromise, but as moral beauty. How inner harmony matters more than external rules. And, most importantly, why the soul must be shaped before society can be just. Section Overview. 1. Introduction. What makes a society civil? 2. A world losing its bearings. 3. Before the philosophers, the myths and the muse. 4. The moral imagination of myth, enhanced with quotes. 5. The poets and the historians. 6. Then came the philosophers. 7. Plato's vision, timeless and urgent. 8. Transition to Section 2. 9. Key takeaways. In this first section, we begin at the foundation of the course. What is justice, really? We'll see how the roots of Western civilization lie not in laws or politics, but in stories, values, and the search for meaning. How the Greeks used stories, poems, and history to shape their ideas of virtue and justice. And how Plato redefined justice as something deeply personal, a harmony within the soul. This is the starting point of the liberal arts tradition, and it's where your journey begins. By the end of this section, you won't just understand Plato's idea of justice. You'll see why it still matters for your life today. Instructor Introduction. Welcome to this course on liberal arts, philosophy, and the formation of the soul. Your instructor is Professor Soichi Nakamura, a best-selling author, a Columbia-educated scholar, and a former top-ranked tennis champion in Japan. He brings together the power of reason, discipline, and cross-cultural insight to explore one essential question. How can we live well in a world without clear justice?
Thank you for joining me. Justice is one of the most misunderstood words in today's world. We hear it in the news, in politics, in protests, but rarely do we stop to ask, what does it truly mean? In this section, we'll return to the very beginning, to the stories, values, and virtues that gave birth to our ideas of justice. I invite you to open your mind, and more importantly, your soul, to a journey that may change how you see the world. Let's begin. By the end of this section, you won't just understand Plato's idea of justice, you'll see why it still matters for your life today. One. Introduction. What makes a society civil? We live in a world that talks about justice, but rarely understands it. People demand justice, but often mean revenge. Others speak of fairness, but settle for compromise. But what is justice, really? Is it just a social contract, a balance of interests, or something deeper, something beautiful, even divine? In today's world, justice is often reduced to compromise. Competing interests, conflicting rights, the least unfair solution. This is the logic behind politics, laws, and negotiations. It keeps society functioning, but it leaves the soul starving. Is this the best we can do? or is there a higher standard? Plato believed justice was not just a compromise, but a harmony of the soul. A just person is not merely fair, but beautiful, because their inner life is in order. Wisdom guides, courage acts, temperance restrains, and justice balances them all. This is not political, it's personal and deeply moral. Before we ask, what is a just system, we must ask, what is a just soul? The classical tradition begins from within, with the human character, not the state. If the soul is disordered, no system will save it, but if the soul is just, even unjust systems cannot destroy it. Plato's vision is more relevant than ever. In an age of broken systems and public anger, we need a new foundation, not of politics, but of virtue. Justice for Plato is not what you demand, it is what you become. And that's where liberal arts begins, not with laws, but with the soul. If justice is not just about laws, but about the soul, then how do we shape such a soul? The answer begins with the virtues: wisdom, courage, temperance, justice, and something even deeper, love. Plato taught us that justice is not something we demand from others, but something we cultivate within ourselves. It is not a matter of systems, laws, or politics. It is a harmony of the soul, and this harmony does not come naturally. It must be shaped through education, reflection, and the pursuit of virtue. That's where the liberal arts begin, not in textbooks or rules, but in the formation of character. It's not just voting or following laws, it's the belief that citizens, regardless of birth, wealth or status, are equal, responsible and free to shape their world together. That idea didn't come from nowhere. It has a story, and it's more fragile than we think. Let's keep this in mind. Before we talk about laws or politics, we need to talk about people and the kind of soul they have. We live in a time of rapid change. The internet gives us endless data, but little wisdom. Political fights grow louder, while civic trust fades. We talk a lot about freedom, but rarely about character. We chase innovation, but forget where our values came from. Pause here for a moment. Ask yourself, are we becoming more free, or just more distracted? To understand where we're going, we need to remember where we've been. The Greeks did not begin with concepts. They began with the cosmos and the gods. Long before Plato, even before Homer, there was a story. The story of Europa. According to myth, Europa was a Phoenician princess, so beautiful that Zeus himself fell in love with her. To get close to her, he transformed into a gentle white bull. When Europa climbed onto his back, he carried her across the sea to a new land that would bear her name, Europe. So what does this myth mean? This is not just fantasy. It's a symbol. A union of East and West, of passion and reason, of divine intention and human destiny. Before there was the city, there was the sea. Before there was reason, there was wonder. Before there were systems, there were stories. The Greeks told stories not just to entertain, but to understand themselves. Through myth, they explored guilt and pride, beauty and loss, the limits of human desire. Let's take a look at a few powerful examples from Ovid's Metamorphoses. Arachne, punished for her pride, becomes a spider. She wove her fate with threads of hubris. Narcissus, in love with his reflection, fades into a flower. He saw beauty and forgot being. Orpheus, looking back too soon, loses Eurydice forever. Love that doubts is love undone. Icarus, flying too high, falls into the sea. He soared beyond measure and paid the price. Prometheus, defying the gods, brings fire to mankind and suffers for it. He gave light and was chained to darkness. Pandora, opening a box, releases every sorrow, but leaves hope behind. In the end, only hope stayed, trembling. These myths planted the seeds of Western moral imagination. They didn't give us rules, they gave us questions about who we are and who we might become. Then came the poets. Homer's Iliad and Odyssey weren't just heroic tales, they were blueprints for how to live. They showed the Greeks what honour looks like, what loyalty demands, what courage costs. These were not just stories, they were moral education, passed down through poetry. Then came the historians. Herodotus and Thucydides didn't just record events, they asked, why do civilizations rise and fall? Herodotus wrote, great deeds are remembered not just for their size, but for their justice. Thucydides warned, the strong do what they can, the weak suffer what they must. In other words, justice isn't always victorious in history, but it is always what we long for. And then came the philosophers, Socrates, Plato, Aristotle. They didn't start with dogma, they started with doubt. They asked not only what is right, but what kind of person must I become to do right? Plato's definition of justice. Plato said justice is not just a social agreement, it is a harmony of the soul. Here's what that means. Wisdom sees what is true, courage acts on what is right. Temperance holds our desires in check. Justice keeps these forces balanced within us. A just person is not merely fair. They are beautiful because their soul is in order. This isn't about politics, it's about inner life. Today systems are breaking down. Mistrust is growing. Public discourse is angry and chaotic. In this age, we don't just need new policies. We need new people. Plato reminds us, justice is not what you demand, it is what you become. And this is where liberal arts truly begin, not with legislation, but with formation of the soul. This concludes section 1. What is justice? We've seen that justice isn't just a contract between citizens, it's a condition within the person. A soul in harmony produces a life of integrity, and only such lives can build a just society. But this raises a deeper question. Where do these inner virtues come from? The Greeks believed that before reason could rule, the heart must be shaped. And how was it shaped? through stories that stirred the imagination, poems that awakened the emotions, histories that warned and inspired, and philosophy that called the soul to order. Justice, they believed, begins not in the courtroom, but in the theatre, in the marketplace, in conversation, in contemplation. In section 2, we'll return to these cultural roots, to Homer, Herodotus, and the first voices who taught their people not just how to think, but how to be. Because liberal arts at their best were never about knowledge alone. They were about the formation of the soul.
Key takeaways from Section 1. Western civilization began not with laws, but with stories and questions. Greek myths, epics, and histories shaped the moral imagination of the West. Plato defined justice not as a rule, but as a harmony within the soul. Liberal arts aim not at test scores or job skills, but at character formation. Before a just society can exist, the human soul must be just. Politics may create order, but only virtue creates meaning. Hello again. Before you move on, please take a moment to complete the LAFE moral gravity self-check attached to this section. This is not just another worksheet. It's a mirror, reflecting the early structure of your soul. Once you've filled it out, feel free to upload it to your AI companion, like ChatGPT, and ask questions like, can you help me understand this better? What virtues stand out? Where can I grow? Because this course is not just about watching videos. It's about learning to feel more deeply, to see more clearly, and to live more fully. Now, before we begin the next section, you might be wondering, why are we spending time on stories, myths, poetry, and ancient history? What do these have to do with justice, or with the soul? The answer is simple and profound. We react most strongly to spectacle, to drama, to beauty, to tragedy. That's how the soul wakes up. Myths, poems, histories, and heroes. They stir the imagination. They show us courage, betrayal, pride, loss, and longing. They raise the deep questions about who we are and what we live for. And once those questions take root, we're ready to seek answers. That's when philosophy begins. So sections 2 and 3 will awaken your imagination. And from section 4 onward, we'll walk the path of Socrates and Plato toward the formation of a truly just soul. You're doing beautifully. Whenever you're ready, I'll see you in section 2.